Hey, this is Max. Welcome back to another CSR2 video. Elite Showdown. This is the current one that I am doing with the Maxed LB NSX, and I am grinding through the participation rewards and trying to get to 400 before the event ends. Now, on the road to 400, I have launched this NSX over and over and over, and I learned a little bit about it from repetitive testing of the car down the track. One thing that I think I want to point out to those of you who are using it, just as a tip, is the launch point on this car actually really affects how well it runs. I think a lot of people are struggling with this car a little bit, not because it's a bad car, but simply because you're launching it just off enough that it's hurting you in getting a good time out of the car. Now, getting a 10.4 run out of the car almost seems like a fluke to me. I've done it a few times. There's no consistency to how I did it. One thing I do know, though, is that the difference between a 10.5 run, low 10.5, and a 10.6 run is totally in the launch point. And that means if you launch too early, you will lose time. So what do I mean? Let's go back and go to the next race, and I'll try to point it out before the countdown starts. And sooner or later, I'm going to make a mistake and kind of showcase it anyway. But essentially, what I found out is, one, as always, consistent low time runs, even if you're not the best driver in the world, if you can get at least somewhere around this time every time, you'll win more often than you'll lose, which means you'll still climb the ranks pretty well. But one of the key things about launching this car is, one is the style of launch, and you can see the difference in the way people's reaction times are displayed at the end of the run. People who have that really low, near perfect reaction time is using a completely different launch technique than what I'm doing. They're actually either releasing the gas at right before go and then hitting the launch button, or they're tapping to keep the gas here. But the main thing is, do not launch earlier than 6K. That is the make or break on the launch. Even if you launch a little bit on the late side, you'll be okay. But if you launch earlier than 6K, you will botch the run. It will take at least a tenth off your time. This is how you get the 10.6 runs. If you launch somewhere before 6K, no matter how good your shift pattern is, the car's going to run about a 10.6. If you launch late, even if you launch late, as long as it is later than 6K, means a higher RPM than 6K, you generally will not get worse than a 10.55, even if you kind of screw up the initial shift pattern a little bit. The shift pattern, again, seems to benefit the best if you can get into second gear immediately. That's not always as easy as it sounds, but the launch point, that's the key. If you launch a little late, it's okay, but if you launch a little early, it is not. So you definitely don't want an early launch. That one was borderline early, and it could have really hurt me, but I think it turned out okay because it was still little past that little red line on 6. So that's the key of launching this car. It doesn't mean that I'm going to get it right every time. It doesn't mean I'm going to get it to run perfect every time, but it does give me more consistent low times than what I'm hearing from some players who apparently are struggling to get that. Now, it only took me 400 races almost to figure this out, but you know, hopefully if I'm going to grind through all these Elite Showdown races, I'll learn something from it. And yes, I do watch other people's videos. I look at their shift pattern videos and try to duplicate it. But again, there's certain things that are just not that easy to replicate on videos. You really have to figure it out on your own device how things work, and then do the best you can based off of that. Again, your own reflexes, the way your eye and hand-eye coordination works, all these little nuances does come into play in how well you may be able to drive, and ultimately your device does too. Some devices just seems to do better than others. But here, my real goal here is to hit 400 before the event ends so I can collect that 700 token. It's kind of sad that we've come to this point where the Elite token has now taken such an important role in the game that if you don't do the grind, you're almost locked out of a portion of the game. The Elite cars are nothing new, but up till this point, Eliting a car is pretty much optional. But with the introduction of Elite tuners, I am now stuck grinding this through to get those tokens, because if I don't want to be left completely in the dry, I have to try to do something here. Ooh, I beat that car. Wow. Wow, I beat that car. I'm pretty sure that's some decent Elite levels on that Sylvia to be running this kind of time. And the last two I raced, I lost. So look at that, 211 mile per hour. So it shot way out there in the beginning, and I have to chase it down. But all right. So anyway, I was a little excited because I finally beat one. In any case, 30 races to go. It'll get me 700 tokens. And again, this is the. I hope this is not the new norm, but it looks like it's going to be the new norm, which means we're all going to be grinding in showdowns for these tokens. I have to be honest, I don't feel like it's pleasurable at all. It starts to feel more and more like work, and we all know nothing sucks the fun out of something quicker than work. So, you know, playing for fun is always the goal, but at some point the balance becomes, am I grinding because I'm having fun, or am I grinding because I have to do it to accomplish something in the game that really shouldn't require it? I haven't quite balanced the factors here yet. This is the first time I've actually done this many races in any showdown. And honestly, it wasn't as bad as I expected it to be, but then again, I'm running a relatively competitive car that's fully maxed, no Elite levels really, but fully maxed, and it's also relatively pleasurable to drive. It's not one of those cars that drive me nuts and make me angry every 10 races. So this may change as more and more of these showdowns become so critical. I don't know. I'm not sure it's that much fun to do in the long term, but as of right now, at least, I think it's tolerable, and I'm going to keep doing them. We're going to see when the milestone showdown comes whether Natural Motion will actually let us use the other SVJ Roadster. They made us spend gold keys on and a lot of resources to build, and then they lock out of the event because it's, quote, a milestone showdown. Well, why did you give us the same exact car and make us use it in the first place in the Lambo event? If that was going to be the case, make it a different milestone car. At least give us some variety. The same exact car with gold stars and locking one out and allowing the other to be used, that's low. Okay, I know you're trying to make me burn my resources, but that's really, really low. And I'm really kind of upset with that. So we'll see if they'll change their tune once the event becomes live. But right now, I checked today, it still does not allow me to use my other SVJ Roadster. So I'm still a little upset about that. So for now, I'm just going to keep grinding through my last 30-40 races to get to that 400, get the 700 tokens. No, don't beat me. Whew. All right, that was a close race. That little hop at the end there scared me, but looks like I managed to squeeze that one out. That was definitely a good race. Again, see, what I'm saying is that is a perfect launch, but that means to me, again, he uses a needle drop launch method versus my method, which has no releasing of the gas. So a lot of guys are either releasing gas first and then watching the needle get to that perfect mark and then hitting the launch button along with timing. Some others might actually be using the tap, tap, tap method along with the timing. Those are actually more complex methods. I'm impressed when they pull it off so well, so consistently. My method is kind of cheating, but it works, which is all I'm doing is literally just hitting the launch button at a specific time in the countdown. That's all I'm doing. I'm not even worried about releasing the gas, because when you hit launch, gas gets released, the needle drops to exactly where it's supposed to go, and that's probably the easiest, laziest launch method out there. And again, with this car, launch late. All right, looks like I'm having a little trouble finding an opponent at this point. So this is probably a good point to cut the video short. Let's go ahead and jump back, and I'll just give you my final thoughts on this whole showdown thing. So again, the real prizes isn't necessarily this, because very few of us will ever see that, right? Most of us will only see this. Where the prizes really are the best is still in the participation prizes. Sure, these are nice. I'm not complaining. But the participation prizes in this is really good. Thousands of green tokens, and it makes it worth it because you have that Supra to build to actually grind this far and grab that 700. In fact, it took me that last one at 300 races to get my Supra past that Elite 25 hurdle everybody seems to be getting stuck at. We have many more of these cars coming. We have at least 2 GTRs, a LB Huracan, and other cars that are going to have to be Elite upgraded all the way to finish this whole street tuner, Elite tuner thing that is now the newest and greatest, right? I mean, if you look at street culture, you're going to have to Elite fully this car, the LB eventually. That's why it's being used a lot in the showdowns. This one, and all the rest of these all have to be fully Elite just so we can get the mystery reward. Notice it says 0 out of 6 cars because I have not fully Elite any of them. Now this is just street culture for that reward. That's not even talking about the Elite Tuner series with the Tashimi X that has the GTRs and the Supra. So those are another bunch of cars right here, Elite Tuners. Just how many freaking tokens are we going to need? Apparently more than you got, boy. So that's the reality of our future, grinding for tokens. Am I excited about that? Not really. Will it be bad enough that it makes me want to quit the game? Well, let's put it this way. Legend, as miserable as that was, we all made it through that, got the F1, and I'm still here. So I think I'm going to whine and complain and cry all the way through, but I'm unlikely to quit the game over it. Now, can you, yeah, I hate SD, okay? My license plate says everything I have for that showdown situation. I hate grinding it. I don't hate the SD for what it is, I just hate grinding it. But in any case, that is my latest showdown experience. It's part of the reason why I didn't bother to make a video earlier in the season when the showdown started, because it's the same car I just did another video on with, but this time I'm doing a completely different angle of trying to attack through 400 races. Well, are you doing the same thing I'm doing? What's your experience with it? Let me know. And are you struggling with launching the NSX? If you are, maybe that late launch tip may help you. In any case, thank you for watching this video. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you have questions or comments, feel free to leave them. I love reading them and answering them. If you like my channel and would like to get notifications when I put up new videos, please subscribe so you can get those notifications. And as always, thank you for watching my videos. I'll catch you next time.